We are starting a new series here based on the sefer Shearim lelוח העברי by
Rav Sher-Shalom.
I think his name is Rahamim Sher-Shalom.
I think so. I'll check.
Yes, Rachhamim Sher-Shalom, הכהן. Now, this is a very, very dense book. Then I don't think, let me just show this. Even if we put the somehow put online the pages, it was very hard to read this on the web. So we're just going to go slowly through it and comment as we go along, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so this is from the section called the Pesach HaPerak HaRishon, the opening of the first parak. Divrei Yemei HaIbur, Historia Shel העברי, this history of the Jewish calendar. Ibur, Lelוח העברי. So the word Ibur, actually, one could learn it as related to Ivri. And it's true, because the same word is at the source of Shorosh of both of them. And just like Ivri is Aver and Ahar, going over something, Ibur is going over the limit of the month, or the year. But I don't know if that's what he's going to say. He says, Echad hamuvanim shel munach Ibur hu luach hashana Ivri. So even though Ibur refers specifically to the addition of days and a different addition of a month to the calendar, still the entire concept of the Jewish luach is called Ibur. Fize yemuvan shel divrei me'ibur. So therefore we say divrei me'ibur, that means historia shluach Ivri, the history of the Jewish calendar. Amuvanim hanosafim munach Ibur. What else does the word Ibur mean? Mosad Ibur, on the foundation of the Ibur, the Ibur, and the secret of the Ibur, we'll find out much not much later on, but in a couple of pages. Before when we come to give you an overview, Al Divrei Ibur, on the history of the calendar, we have to discuss the stages of development of the reckonings of the Jewish calendar. If you don't have an interest in the cheshbonos of the luach and the way Shabbos b'chozam and the way they developed, Muveis Mamud 19 Skira Mim Matzah. We have in page 19 a executive summary. Not really, but Kitzur Divrei Lelוח העברי. So that would be the next page. Okay. It's Hataglis Shel Chokrei Lelוח. The revelation or discovery of people who research the Luach. The sefer Historia, in the history books, Gam Eila Haroim or B'Shem Achronos, also modern contemporary books. They teach us that B'Shnas Dalet Kufyu Tesla Yitzira. Hishnas 359 L'Sfiras HaNotzrim. So in the year Dalet Kufyu Tes, which is 359 in the secular calendar, Tikin Lanu Rabbi Hillel Rabbi Yehuda and the Sia, who Rabbi Hillel Shlishi, normally goes on the Hillel Sheni in most of our sources. I understand why it's called Shlishi because there was another earlier Amora which is called Rabbi Hillel, but we generally call him, despite what the author says here, Rabbi Hillel Shlishi, he's usually called Hillel Sheni because I think he was the only other Hillel who was the head of the Sanhedrin. So, and he was the last head of the Sanhedrin. So whatever you call him, Hillel Shlishi, Hillel Sheni, he instituted Luach Al Pi Cheshbon, a calendar based on reckoning. That's the Luach we still use today. From documents which have been revealed, so that's a commonly held belief. So the author of this book is coming to, iconoclastically, to break this assumption. Rabbi Hillel achen tikein es haluach al pi cheshbon. Yes, indeed, Rabbi Hillel made the luach al pi cheshbon. Ach ein ze b'diuk also cheshbon shel mishtam sheba yom, but it's not the precise cheshbon, the precise reckoning we use today. Al kol dikdukav upratav, and all of its specifics and details. Cheshbon es haluach shel tikein Hillel The reckoning of the calendar which Hillel made continued to be upgraded until they reached the final format, in the middle of the 9th century. I'm not sure about that. I don't think it was necessarily 100% accurate to the middle of the 10th century because of the Rabbi Sadigo and Aaron Ben Meir Machlekes, which I assume will get blue eventually. Since then, they are fixed without any deviation. Signed and sealed for generations. Now, this got me into trouble many years ago. I wrote an article with Rabbi Dr. Ari Zivotofsky for the Jewish Observer on the Rabbi Sadigo and Aaron Ben Meir controversy of 922 CE, and we posited that the Luach, even though it was instituted by Hillel Hasheni, exactly what he says is not completely solidified, because otherwise this controversy could not have arisen.
Okay.
So others, we were attacked on this, because the assumption was, well, Hillel Hasheni was the one who fixed the Luach for eternity.
Right.
And he was, according to the Ramban, he was Mekadesh or Chadashim from his time on. So how can you say the Luach is not fixed from that time? So first of all, according to the Rambam, I don't think it's Brown, because the Rambam says that Hillel Hasheni was not Mekadesh or Chadashim. But in fact, we still are Mekadesh Chadashim today, and the way we do it is that as long as there are 10 Jews in Eretz Yisrael who tacitly agree to what we're doing, that is what keeps the Luach alive.
Okay.
So also, he doesn't seem to be going with the shita of Rabbi Sadigo. Rabbi Sadigo held that, and Rabbi Chai and others, that the Luach was given precisely at Har Sinai, including Yontif Sheni. Yontif Sheni was not a later addition. It was there originally, and that is why the Magen Avraham says that we keep Shavuos on Vav Sivan, even though the Torah is given on Zayin Sivan, as a remez for Yontif Sheni, which in the Midbar was already in effect that year. Okay. So, but continuing with the author's assumptions. The calendar in the time of Tanakh. We don't know how they went about Kiddush HaChodesh and leap years at days of Tanakh. From days of us at the beginning of Bayesheni, which is a big problem because a lot of things in the Chumash which are described as taking place in Bachodesh Hasheni, Bachodesh Chamishi, right? Mm-hmm. And how did they determine at that time that this is going to be according to the seasons? Maybe there was like the Muslim calendar where there was no extra leap month, and therefore everything got 11 days earlier each year without any compensation.
But we have the Doraita statement of B'chodesh Aviv.
Right, but we don't know how they did that before the Torah was given.
But you can't just say it before the Torah was given.
Yeah, before the Torah was given. Right. In other words, it says, according to the Medrash Chazal, right, that Avraham ate matzahs on Yudal Nisan, or Yitzchak Avinu had a Korban Pesach on Yudal Nisan.
Right. In other words, so by Noach, when it says on the Chodesh Sheni or whatever, it could have been any point of the year.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
We don't know.
Okay.
Okay. So, so he says that. But he says for all of Tanakh we don't know. Me'avos ayresh made by Sheni from the days of us until the time by Sheni. It's interesting that one of the proofs that there is was a second day Rosh Chodesh, even at the time of Beis Hamikdash. It's from the Haftorah of Machar Chodesh, right? Because there it says Yom HaChodesh Hasheni. Right. So obviously they had 2 days Rosh Chodesh from time to time back then as well. Yesh Chachamenu Hasvim Shekavu Od Chadashim Shanim Api Cheshbon. Those are all that's Api Cheshbon, which of course is Sadigon and others. Yesh Nasa Api Re'iyah. Some say it was based on sightings, as was custom times in the Mishnah. B'chof and Bar Shechotchei Hashana Yuchotchei Areach. The months of the year were the months of the moon. You know, the whole concept of the month being 30 days comes from the lunar cycle. Month comes from moon. Okay. And it was a chiddush of Julius Caesar when he invented the Julian calendar to completely divorce the concept of month from the moon cycles. Okay. In order to make a true solar calendar, he had to divorce that. Right. But on the other hand, the months now are totally random. They don't have anything to do with the lunar cycle. So what happened was that you had all systems before Julius Caesar's system. I'm sure he didn't make it himself, probably had astronomers who made it. It all system before that, there was a linkage between month and lunar cycle.
Okay.
Caesar's chiddush was that, no, there's no more any linkage. Okay? But that's why the word for, yerach, right, for a month is like, means because of the moon. Chodesh also because the ischachus of Levana. So
Right.
all these things have to do with the moon. Okay, so b'chol ofen bor shechot shana yechot shiarech v'ashana memutzas in the average year haisa shnas shana shimshis, and the average year was a solar year. I'm not sure what he means by the average year. I guess that in between the lower limit of the lunar year, which is 350 some odd days, and the upper limit of the lunar year, which is 380 some odd days, you have in the middle somewhere the solar year.
Okay.
הכהן מעידים הביטויים ירח, חודש ושנה. So shana for some reason indicates that the sun comes around again to the same place.
Shanot, it repeats.
Yes. So obviously it can't be talking about the moon, because the moon repeats every month. So shana means when the solar year repeats. Yeshadus mitudos atikos, there are testimonies from ancient documents. That in Bavel they already had a luach which tried to coordinate the lunar and solar cycles. Our forefathers come from Bavel. So we can assume this probably will strike some people's apicorsus that they're already using this lunar/solar calendar, which is the luach prevalent in that place, where they were born and they lived. So Avraham Avinu would have adopted the prevalent luach. We could say thus: Shaluach העברי, Keluach Yarchei Shemesh. Like the Jewish calendar has a lunar solar calendar who Kadumon is very ancient. There's the details, we have no testimonies. We can learn that the Ibur did exist from various psukim at the time of the Tanakh, which is going to get into later evidently. But it's important to emphasize it's very easy to interpret psukim in different ways. And therefore you can bring them as assisting evidence. But definitive proof. Kashem, so psukim is very difficult to find the psukim. Tukvasa Mishnah. Ala drachim l'kiddush hachodesh v'ibur hashana b'sofim mei habayis hasheni. The way that they did Kiddush Chodesh at the end of the time by Sheni, in the few first centuries after the Churban, you have testimony and description from Talmudic sources. And comprehensive and basic the description of the ways in which you determine whether to have days or months. But in this time, the Rambam, Beprakenu, Muvayim Asikumim Apia Rambam. I guess at some point each parak gives us a sikum according to the Rambam. Kiddush HaChodesh Mamud 23. Well, Birkein in our parak, this parak, the first parak. You can find sikumim on the Rambam. Kiddush HaChodesh on page 23. Ibur Shon on page 24. From Rabbi until the calendar was sealed for generations. As we said previously, Rabbi Hillel based They made Rabbi Hillel and his basin made the revolutionary takana to go to determining months and years based on reckoning, as opposed to by sightings and signs. Rabbi Hillel placed the foundations of the luach al pi cheshbon based on reckoning. But never, even still, the reckonings which are at the foundation of the Lulach, Hayachim Mishtachlim, are still getting upgraded and more sophisticated, and more precise, till shortly around before or after 840, according to non-Jewish calendar. And there's no difference. Amud 26, he's going to have a table which gives some information on that. Okay. What is the background and what?
Hareka.
Yeah, the background and the impetus, the causes, in order to go to Luach based on Cheshbon. And he's going to explain this on page 25. But basically, the quest to preserve the unity of the nation. Was the primary reason to fixing the Luach. The other explanation which are given. Okay. Non-stable reckoning to a stable reckoning. Tkufas ha'chisu, the tkufa in which the calendar was completed, the period in which the calendar was completed. Emsa mea shmini ad emsa mea tishi, middle of the 8th century, middle of the 9th century. Mitzayen es tkufas ha'mavar miluach im cheshbon. It's a transition between luach without a set cheshbon to one which has a set cheshbon. Okay, I think it's kind of obvious. Okay, and then he's going to describe it on page 28. The letter of the Rosh Hagolah, the Exilarch from Babel, it's a very important document. Anyway, didn't make Yoser highlighted. It's very important. L'chachas had teoria to prove the theory. L'fia nechtimu ha'chashbonos haluach every rak b'emtza mea t'chi. The celebration of Lusa is very informative and provides resource for us to determine when it was signed. The seal, signed and sealed, signed and sealed in the middle of the 9th century. This document proves like 100 witnesses that even 400 years after Hillel made the Luach, the reckonings, the calculations, according to which they determine the year, were different than the cheshbonos of the static, of the permanent luach. I'm not sure exactly what he means by that. It's both part of the same system. Now, since there are Talmidei Chachamim who are so obstinate that they don't agree to determine that luach was finished in the 800s, we're going to show them. We're going to bring down the letter of the Rosh Hagolah with the translation to Hebrew. With explanations. Came for Bamuta Askrami Teorima Seder Kriyas Hashana B'Tkufa Zu Apiyam Matur B'Sechel Soim Al Karos. We're going to use other Chazalic sources for this purpose. And now the famous Machlokas. Machlokas Sadi of Gagon Uben Meir. Rabbi Sher-Shalom Dalet Tuf Reish Pei Beis 922 to the Tuf Reish Pei Dalet 924. Mishamesh Gamil Chachal. Like I said, it's a proof. Shamnan Klaya Ibor Kafi Shem Yadenu. The terms of the leap year, as we have in our hands, at best they were signed not long before the machlokes. But then the luach was sealed for generations. Because of machlokes, as a result of that machlokes, which is it ripped apart the Jewish world, machlokes of Rasai Gaon and Ben Meir. I'm talking about the Orthodox Jewish world. The Karaites were thrilled at this machlokas. They loved it. But then afterwards, we have Sodas Ibra. Certain things were kept quiet. And nothing was able to change them. Lo kashvan in the slightest change. Lo askami these kalis without a general consensus of Jews. And this is a problem because a necessity of eventually. Not in the distant future. There's going to be small changes. So that we're going to get to at the end of the Perek HaTchufos. And that was the introduction to the book.
Okay.
And I think that that's, I think doing it this way is probably the best way to do it.
Okay.